Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, April 14th. I'm Jon Weigell here with Martina Bretous and Maria Gharib, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. We're back at it today with a look at the latest in AI. Shopify's CEO announced a new backhanded AI hiring policy. Google AI overviews came under scrutiny this past week, and a study came out saying that most Americans don't trust AI. Let's fancy that. We'll run all that down and more today, but first, let's give you the news in business and tech. First up, congrats to the Windows 95 reboot chime. It's one of 25 new additions to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry. The peaceful startup sound was actually composed by Brian Eno, legendary music producer. Next, Trader Joe's did it again. The company released a new $3 spring tote in its stores, but good luck to you finding one. The totes have been spotted on resale sites for up to $2,000 each, so if you do have one, enjoy your grocery status symbol. From there, we get into some tariffs. In light of eventual tariffs, shoppers are looking to Costco, Sam's Club, and Walmart for some relief. According to Placer AI, foot traffic at warehouse club type stores, which is those, Walmart, Costco type places, spiked 9.7% between March 24th and March 30th on a year-over-year basis. And finally here, U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon has accidentally just teamed up with A.1 steak sauce. In a speech on Thursday, McMahon mistakenly referred to AI as A1 when saying the kids need AI education in schools. A1 steak sauce, of course, capitalized on this with a social post that said, you heard her, every school should have access to A1. Bravo, steak sauce, bravo. On to our main story today. As mentioned above, we have Martina and Maria from the Mindstream newsletter discussing the latest AI news. Let's get it.
Hi, Maria. It is always a pleasure having you on. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks.
Let's jump in. So I first want to ask you, because you cover AI all the time, every day, actually, on Mindstream. What's an interesting AI piece of news that you've come across in the last few weeks?
So there's something that was kind of both hilarious and kind of like existential. The researcher called Daniel Paleka, if I'm not mistaken, he asked ChatGPT to describe itself, basically to draw itself and what it thinks it looks like. And ChatGPT replied with, it sees itself as a smiling, brown-haired white dude, like not a glowing orb of data or like a floating, it's a dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's really funny. But also it says kind of like a lot about what these models absorb. So ChatGPT was trained on internet data. Obviously, people know this. And guess what's overrepresented in that data? White people, white dudes specifically. So it's not evil inherently. It's just like a mirror of our internet culture. I think this isn't just about like appearances. It's more like a reminder that even when we think we're building neutral tools, there's always like some human bias kind of baked into it. So I think we need more representation, in my opinion. It needs to be fed more people from all over the globe rather than just like a specimen of people.
Absolutely. It's always interesting to see when bias shows up in ways that we don't expect it when it comes to AI. And a lot of news publications have covered this, how AI has its bias, whether it's what jobs it thinks that certain ethnicities or races can have. And as you're saying here, how it describes itself. So it's really interesting to see the different ways that it shows up.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to research. So according to a Pew Research Center report, most Americans don't trust AI. And I'm curious why you think that is.
I think I read the article. They found that 75% of AI experts are very optimistic about AI, but like a quarter of the public feels the same. So that's like a huge trust gap. And the reason, it's not a mystery. People don't understand how AI works, where AI literacy comes in handy. So these people don't feel like they're in control of the whole thing. And every other week, there's like a story about AI saying something absolutely crazy or like stealing someone's job or like doing this and doing that. So it's giving black box with too much power energy, right? Everything, like, we don't know what's happening. Well, in my case, I do because I read a lot, but like people, sometimes they're not really informed about how everything is working and how it works. We have to add in the fact that most people feel the government and tech companies are doing like a very bad, terrible job regulating it. So of course, they're going to be skeptical. In my opinion, AI has like a PR problem. And the fix isn't just like showing what it can do, it's proving that it's actually for the people, not just for profit. We need to make AI more and more like trustworthy, or else no one's gonna like it. If they wake up one day like some person's job is he had to be laid off because now AI is taking over, we have to make people understand it. It wasn't a layoff because he's not doing a good job or AI is taking over. It's because now they can do it with AI, but he can actually like do more and more with AI rather than like one task.
I love what you said about AI having a PR problem. I love that.
It does.
And it's true. Ignorance breeds distrust. If people don't understand how something works, they're a little bit more wary of it. They're distrustful of it. And so it totally makes sense that we just need more AI literacy and more insight into how these things work and how they're impacting our day to day.
100%.
So that's really interesting. Now, on to people who are actually trusting AI enough to use it. Adobe came out with a pretty interesting study in which they found that traffic from generative AI sources to US retail sites has increased 1,200% year over year.
Yeah.
Now, what does it tell us about how AI is impacting how consumers shop?
So it's not really a small number, is it? It's a ridiculous number. It's a huge number. 1,200% jump in traffic from AI tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity to US retail sites. It means that people aren't just using AI to write emails anymore, like to correct something or like doing this or like reformulating something. They're literally shopping with it. So instead of searching best hiking boots, or like best cat food for a cat with kidney problems, people are asking ChatGPT, right? They're not Googling anymore. And they're trusting the answers. So AI has basically become the first stop on the consumer journey. So if your brand doesn't really show up in that first AI suggestion, you're pretty much just invisible. But for retailers, I think this is like a huge shift. Like we're shifting in terms of marketing or like generally how they appear in search engines. You're no longer competing for like the first page on a Google search. You're trying to earn a spot in an AI generated paragraph. So that means better product data, better content, and probably better storytelling. So this is like the new version of SEO. And like I think brands that don't adapt are going to be probably left behind. I think that's why they're going for like YouTube, they're going for Instagram, they're going for, Meta in general for them to kind of appear in the searches on AI bots.
Right. So they're diversifying how they're approaching it to make sure that they are increasing their chances.
Yeah.
That's really interesting that you spoke of search engines because that was actually going to be one of my questions. Bloomberg spoke with 25 website publishers who say that because of Google's new AI overviews feature, they've had to either shut down their site or reinvent their strategy. Now, Google is denying that AI overviews even has a negative impact on website traffic. But clearly, some web publishers are actually really feeling the impact. So how do you see businesses responding to this? What are some strategies that people are using or can use to bounce back from what they are experiencing right now?
Yeah, so I think people remember when Google rolled out AI overviews. What it does for people that don't know what it does, basically summarizes answers right at the top of the search results. And then, surprise, surprise, users are going to stop scrolling and clicking through to the other stuff. So because they got the answers, right? They got the info in that paragraph. So publishers are understandably furious. Honestly, if you put yourself in their shoes, you'd be pissed about this too, because you put out a lot of money in terms of SEO and like UX, UI and stuff. So some are kind of reporting traffic drops, which I think was up to 60% or 65%, which is insane. It's not easy. And we're talking legit businesses here. We're not talking about like spammy blogs. We're talking actual businesses. So Google's pretending, obviously, it's not a huge deal. It's not a big problem. But for the folks who rely on traffic to pay the bills, it's a crisis. It's pretty bad. So what are they doing in terms of how they're diversifying? As we said in the previous question, it's the same thing that has happening here. They're doing newsletters, they're doing paid communities, they're doing TikTok clips, they're kind of like outsourcing and outreaching for influencers, etc. So anything that doesn't really depend on Google, essentially. Some are making it their content. They're kind of making everything that has to do with them more niche and more interactive. And so it doesn't really get like swallowed up by an AI summary. So I think the era of chasing SEO might be probably ending. And there's a new rule in town, which is like build something AI can't really easily copy.
Interesting, right. So they're divesting from organic traffic sources and they're investing in these other strategies that AI can necessarily replicate in one quick put together answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Really interesting. Well, it's always a pleasure, as I said before. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
See you next time.
See ya.
All right, thank you both very much. And thank you for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of HubSpot Media. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get signed up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. See you later.